Friends, you caught me in the study. My name's Christian. Welcome back to the Brave New Wear show. So, in my personal life, outside of the tube world, I run the online for a chain of designer consignment boutiques in Manhattan called Ina NYC. Check it out. It's not a luxurious job, but I get a lot of emails. And I came back from Thanksgiving break and I received about 5 semi-frantic emails from a guy who said he was Virgil Abloh's assistant. He was asking, he said that Virgil wanted to buy a jacket, he wanted to come into the store. It's this really cool Dior Homme shirling. And he asked if he could have the jacket pulled and whatever. I said, of course. And I waited there, seeing if Virgil would show up to get like an Instagram event. Long story short, Virgil didn't come. The assistant ended up buying the jacket for him. But it prompted me to raise this question, something that I had already written a couple of notes about, which is Virgil Abloh and what does he do well? So Virgil, the reason that I think it's kind of an interesting question or why it's worth asking or pondering, if you might, is because Virgil has a lot of influence in fashion right now. He has a lot of Instagram followers. Off-White is, I think, one of the top luxury brands in 2018. But at the same time, a lot of people in fashion, at least people I know or work with, kind of turn their nose up at him. They diminish what he might have accomplished or his level as a designer. And I think that there are fair arguments on both sides. I think that, for one, a lot of Off-White stuff I don't personally want to wear. And I understand the argument that Virgil didn't study fashion, and a lot of his success is built or has been cultivated in different avenues that people might find contrived or not as legitimate. But I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily agree that Virgil's success has been a fluke or is bad in some way. I think that there are things that he does well that are worth exploring or discussing, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So join me. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, be sure to subscribe right now and comment below on what you think. First things first. I think that Virgil has a good understanding of community. With Pyrex, I read somewhere online, so I do my research. I read somewhere online kind of like a tagline of Pyrex being a team with no sport. And I think that was kind of the beginning of him understanding what he wanted to do with fashion or what he wanted to do with a brand. He wanted it to be centered around kind of what he saw online and the community of new men who were interested in fashion, who were interested in high fashion even. One of the most important things, or one of the best things that I think Virgil does, is that he tries to make a lot of people feel special or feel a part of the whole energy. And I read in W magazine, there was like a feature on him, and it said that after returning from like a Vetements runway show, he came back and charged his iPhone. He had something like 2,000 unread emails and like 500 unread texts. I think that Virgil one of the things that he does is that he's constantly always working, and he's constantly always trying to get people to feel involved or engaged in the atmosphere, the universe of his life. So he has like over 1 million followers, but he's also following like 5,000 people. I know like one person who I used to work with who saw Virgil on the street once, spoke with him, and then Virgil ended up following him back. And I think Virgil does that for like a lot of people. And I think that's kind of like a cool thing. It's fun to kind of give, kids or kind of, validate people, give them this kind of feeling like they're involved when you, a super busy guy, just take the time to speak with somebody, say, I'll follow you back, and kind of, in so many ways, I feel like it's kind of like extending the clout, if you will. It's like passing on like this, like you can be a part of this team, because he tries to make everyone feel a part of it. Anything, I think Virgil's understanding of community is what might allow him to be a success at Louis Vuitton. With his first men's collection, the concept was like a rainbow coalition from The Wizard of Oz, like a combination of people from all walks coming together under this umbrella, and it relates back to one of his original ideas of uniting two different worlds of streetwear and high fashion, of, you know, the lower class and the upper class, I guess, but maybe not that high-minded, maybe that utopian, but at least this concept of bringing a lot more people into the fold of fashion and its highest levels of high fashion. And I think that that's something that was poetic. I think it was his best artistic statement or move to date. I do think that the Louis Vuitton collection that he did was cool. I think that he was smart to have the right team who would say, this kind of tailoring is going to be interesting. The silhouettes were interesting. I think a lot of the accessories were solid, and that's super important for Louis Vuitton. And moving forward, I'll be interested to see what he does. But I think that the key to that show was this idea of a non-homogeneous community. Here's a hot take. I think that it's not necessarily wrong or delegitimate to have a garment that is essentially plain or some kind of t-shirt, and it has the type of, like, it has Off-White's logo or whatever, and it's expensive. I think that that's kind of a part of fashion that's always been there. For a very long time, luxury fashion has accepted this quality that when you buy a piece of whatever, you're buying a part of that universe. And that's why people are interested in it. They want a part of this design universe, and that's what they're paying for. I think if we start to, or we decide that clothing, its only merit is based on the construction or the, like, practicality of it, it's limiting what we can kind of explore creatively. A painting isn't worth a lot because it was done with very expensive paints. And it's not worth a lot because the technique is like the same as a Northern Renaissance master. A painting could be worth a lot because of the artistic expression, because of whatever it is, whatever that expression is. You might not think that Off-White's universe or design and everything that is involved with that is very sophisticated, but it certainly is its own unique design and quality, you know? I think that's what legitimizes these pieces and why it's fair to say this is high fashion because he put it in that high fashion box. I mean, Virgil references Duchamp as a inspiration. And Virgil does a lot of things where he puts a lot of high-minded ideas and he kind of elevates himself in that way. But I don't think it's entirely bogus. I mean, Duchamp was kind of saying, like, with a lot of his pieces, he said, what if I just took this thing and put it in a different context and said, this is art? And it was because of his whole point. I think that in that same vein, Virgil has some point. What if I take this garment, like a flannel shirt, and I print Pyrex on it, and I price it at $500? If people like it because they like the whole ethos, then it is worth that money. And I think as soon as we say, no, this wasn't designed by a master, the construction isn't like this, or the fabrics weren't sourced here or made here, I think we're limiting ourselves in an artistic way and saying that, like, clothing or garments or fashion is only cool when it's constructed in this certain, like, approved manner. Last of all, Virgil is a disruptor. I think that there's value to this. I always think I kind of give credit to people who are able to enter a field, a space, and they're able to show that you can do it, you can be successful without having the same or the prescribed path to that success. He, like a lot of people like to reference that he, like, didn't study fashion. He's not a pattern maker. I don't know if he has skills in sewing. I honestly don't know what his skills are in, like, illustration or whatever that is. But he certainly had a long history of being a creative director. Obviously, he first started with Kanye, and he's done creative work with Kanye for, like, over a decade. And he has assisted or creative directed a lot of musicians in the past. That's legitimate in its own way. Like, if you understand how to take a project, how to create a creative vision, and execute it, and he has done that with success, I think that it's not an insane pivot to go into another field and then say, what if I take that same steps, the same steps where I say, here's an idea, here's kind of like an aesthetic, let's execute this, let's try to make products, get the right people together who can do this, like who can make this kind of thing or can draw this kind of thing, and let's make it happen. Perhaps his rise has been more controversial or more loud or more noisy because the rise is in part with this kind of growth of men's fashion at the same time with this expansion of streetwear and social media. And we're seeing it all at the same time, and we're thinking to ourselves, why are people spending so much money on these ugly clothes that say Off-White on them? To understand that and to do it, to make it, I think there's value. To understand that is to understand what he had done well. So, people, my viewing audience, I call to you, let me know what you think. Is Virgil phony? Is he contrived in a way that maybe I didn't mention here? Rant in the comment section below. Tell me your thoughts. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. And if there's anything that I missed, please let me know about it. I will continue to try to post on the reg, so please subscribe to the channel for more thoughtful, intelligent discussions about fashion's most compelling questions. If you'll excuse me, I have got some reading to attend to. This is how I read. I don't know about you, I'm a speed reader. I do it backwards, and I read them like this.